Good evening, ladies. I am your undisputed heavyweight fantasy champion of the world, Mike Wilson. Now, you might be saying to yourself, why is Mike Wilson on my iPad, computer, iPhone, etc.? And now you might be saying to yourself, wow, Self, that was a great question. That was a terrible question. You always address me as your undisputed heavyweight fantasy champion of the world. To answer your question, I am here to tell you how we will be determining our 2015 draft spots. We will all meet right around March-ish to determine. We will be bowling. Now, when we will bowl 3 games. The highest series will be the first spot. The second highest series will be the second highest spot, etc. Now, the first spot will get to decide which spot he wants to be in the draft order. He's probably going to choose number 1. Number 2 is probably going to choose the second draft pick. Number 3 and 4, they may choose 3 and 4. They may choose 10 and want the 10 and back-to-back picks. Now, Nick, being the toilet bowl champion, instead of getting the 10th pick automatically, he's just going to get whatever pick is left over, which I would make the assumption would be 5 or 6. So, now we have to determine how we will be bowling. In what order will we be bowling? I've decided that we will all watch the Daytona 500. We will all pick drivers. Out of those 10 drivers that we pick, whichever order they come in, that's which order we will be bowling. I have all of your ladies' names lined up right here in front of me. These are lined up in points allowed and overall record. Now, you would assume that your heavyweight fantasy champion of the world would be at the beginning, but I only had a 9-4 record, and 2 other people had a 10-3 record. So, respectively, they'll go first. Bob and Casey were tied at 10-3. Bob only allowed 970 points, but most of those points were to me in the fantasy championship game, which I clearly won. So Bob will be going first because he only allowed 970. Casey allowed 1,030. Bob's driver will be number 4, Kevin Harvick. Next up, Team Dick in a Box. Casey's driver will be number 24, Jeff Gordon. Next up, yours truly, your heavyweight undisputed fantasy champion of the world, number 14, Tony Stewart. I hate myself right now. Next up, Jim Tucker. Jim Tucker finished with a 7-6 record, but so did my boner of a brother. Jim Tucker only allowed 1,133 points, whereas Boner allowed 1,224 points. So Tuck gets the first pick. Tuck's is Brad Keselowski, number 2. Next up, Boner. Boner somehow made it into the playoffs, and I believe he beat, I'm not sure who he beat. It doesn't matter because he lost to me in the finals. So Boner's number is number 18. He gets Kyle Busch. Next up, Jeremy Weiser. Jeremy Weiser, he didn't really pay attention that much this year. He had a lot of disqualified and unfinished lineups because, quote, he only plays for money. So we'll probably put some money on the line this year and see what happens. His number, 48, Jimmy Johnson. Next up, we have Kyle Crown. Now, Kyle Crown, he picked his 4 quarterbacks in a suspended kicker, and then once the kicker was eligible to play, he dropped him for some reason. I have no idea what his method was at all, and it didn't work out. So his driver is number 88, Dale Earnhardt Jr. Next up, we have the kid and Cody were actually tied at 3-10. The worst 2 records in the league. It was pathetic. Now, they were actually very close in points allowed. The kid only allowed 1,173 points, whereas Cody allowed 1,179 points. 6-point difference, but the kid barely pulled out ahead. So the kid's driver will be Cousin Carl, number 99. And that leaves the very last and the very weakest member of our fantasy team, Cody, gets number 41, Kurt Busch. Now, these are our drivers. Best of luck to everybody, and I will see you around March-ish. That's your fantasy champion signing out.